This is Class Chats, brief video interviews featuring 10 questions that focus on the experience and work of students affiliated with the Center for Latin American Studies at the University of Chicago. I'm your host, Natalie Arsenault, Associate Director of CLAS.
My name is Agnes Mondragón, and I'm a PhD candidate at the Anthropology department. And my dissertation is entitled Mediations of War, Formations of Truth, Power, and Political Authority in Mexico's War on Drug Trafficking. I am Mexican. I lived in Mexico most of my life before coming to Chicago for grad school. And right now I'm doing fieldwork in Mexico City, actually, or trying. And currently Mexico is undergoing a crisis of violence that is unprecedented in recent history, and many of whose aspects I think are yet to be understood. I'd say it's new approaches to the history of modern cities, which Professor Mauricio Tenorio taught, I think, in 2013 when I was in MAPS. And I liked that it integrated theory, history, a bit of archival methods, and that it allowed for interesting ways to study religion, which was a main interest for me at the time, through its relation to urban space. One of them would be Claudio Lomnitz's Death and the Idea of Mexico, which is the history of the notion of death from colonial times until the turn of the 21st century. And it analyzes how this notion organizes official ideology, class relations, political critique, and notions of sovereignty in Mexico, among others. So many roles, from the numerous events that I have attended and from which I have learned a lot and met new scholars. The workshop on Latin America, the Caribbean, which I have attended while in Chicago and which I coordinated during the 2016-2017 academic year. Of course, my fieldwork is funded by the CLAS Mellon Dissertation Research Travel Grant. And the amazing community that is formed from people from a bunch of different disciplines that gather together and give each other great support as we pursue our programs. I wanted to understand how violence in Mexico, given its upsurge in recent years, is made sense of, addressed, and given meaning collectively, since it's something that is rather recent and it has affected so many aspects of social life in this country. My project analyzes how the Mexican state partakes in different processes through which the drug war is publicly represented. And I have conducted fieldwork at sites of drug war-related official discourse, anti-violence protests, state spectacles, and with journalists at risk under the state's protection. I analyze how notions regarding the violence, its perpetrators, and its victims are produced at these sites. It has taken a lot of unexpected turns. So I originally wanted to study the processes that led to the canonization of President Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, but research there became unfeasible around 2016. So I briefly went back to my MA topic, which is folk religious practices associated with violence in the press. And finally, I settled on the topic I described earlier. The state, of course, is a ubiquitous entity that I think always merits study, but also the state's relation to violence in a context like the quote unquote war on drug trafficking, which is different from a traditional war and from authoritarian state violence. I think that is relevant beyond Mexico, since it can speak of like emergent forms of violence around the world. I spent a long period in Colombia before coming to Mexico because my husband, Steven, was doing field work there. And I went to Medellin at some point, and I visited one of the so-called Pablo Escobar museums in one of his houses, where they had some of his belongings, and there was even an actor impersonating the kingpin. So what I thought was bizarre was that apparently most of the international tourists were from Mexico. So Mexico, like this fascination with figures like these is jarring in a context of such violence in Mexico, but it's also a big feature of this phenomenon. It's a place in Colombia. Since I spent such a long time there, I think I became very attached to the place. So this is a small beach town called Cabo de la Vela in the department of La Guajira, close to the border with Venezuela. In the desert on the Caribbean coast, in the territory of the Wayuu indigenous people. And it has turquoise water, stunning views, great food, amazing people, and it's really unique and beautiful. And I really recommend it to people. It's hard to get there, but once you get there, you're very happy.
The University of Chicago has a long-standing commitment to and tolerance of multiple forms of free expression. Opinions expressed by guests on class chats do not reflect the official position of the university or any of its constituent departments or organizations. Thanks for watching.